Right, thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you to Noosa Mining for the opportunity to talk. And a tiny preamble before I sort of launch into the presentation. I guess I'm a geologist by background, trained with and sort of brought up with Newmont Mining Corporation, among other places. Apollo Hill, the main asset of Saturn Metals, has been around originally discovered in 1986. It's been a big company asset. Barrick Homestake have had it at one point, but when the gold price was much lower. Famous company Battle Mountain in the 90s did a tremendous amount of good work there, and we listed in March 2018, just over a couple of years ago, and pulled the Apollo Hill asset and Saturn Metals out of Peel Mining, who'd had a great base metal discovery. So a few commodity cycles that have impacted this thing, but left behind some fantastic exploration opportunity. Where are we? A brief snapshot: heart of Western Australia, on the Wiluna Norseman Greenstone Belt, about 2.5 hours drive north of Kalgoorlie. Key points on that map are really excellent infrastructure, excellent gold infrastructure, and the land package we own, which surrounds the Apollo Hill gold asset, is about 1,000 square kilometres of exploration tenements and mining tenements. And when we picked that ground up a couple of years ago, the first thing we did was fly 70% of it, so 700 square K with first pass high-res mag. So there's a lot of greenfields opportunity around the package as well. A bit of a corporate snapshot, just have a look at where we're sort of sitting. I guess we about 16, 17 months ago, we didn't have any institutional support on the register, and that's grown to 44% now. A lot of that's, I guess, what I'd like to call long technical institutions from North America particularly, that I think have seen some sort of step changes in our exploration profile and got behind us. A gentleman there from Wyalong Associates, him and his group are responsible for a couple of discoveries you've just seen on that previous page. Peel Mining was the company we vended out of, and have sort of steadily diluted down at different raisings. In terms of cash, we're in a very strong position, very strong balance sheet at the moment, with over 15 million in the bank. And importantly, we've kept our share capital very tight, only just over 100 million shares on issue. And EV per resource ounce and company valuation's been moving up with some pretty aggressive and consistent exploration. The Apollo Hill asset, which we saw at the sort of heart of that land package, it's a big tonnage, low-grade deposit. There's no getting away from the grade, but it works for a number of reasons, and the first one being its geometry. That diagram there really speaks for, I suppose, the fact that the thing's only about 1.4 kilometres long. The resource is quoted down to only 180 metres depth. And what's really interesting is the fact that the widest part of that gold system there, it's 350 metres wide. And that has, I guess that really translates into the potential for a much lower stripping ratio than sort of similar operations at that sort of grade and tonnage. Since listing, I guess these figures here were done last October when we did our last resource upgrade. We added over 250,000 ounces through our drill programs. It was done with only 28,000 meters of drilling, so at a discovery cost of probably about $12, $13 an ounce. And importantly, we converted over 40% of that asset into indicated, and I expect to see that trend grow. I'm going to talk to you about the drill program we've just done, and we're just about to start the next resource upgrade process. In March 2019, we did make a bit of a step change with the deposit, and what this diagram really shows is, I suppose, Apollo Hill, the main lode, it always approximated to a gram. And if you can think back about your Venn diagrams at school, you can see the orange and red colours in here predominating around this grade distribution. and our exploration team were drilling out in the hanging wall zone over here. And I think they were following up on a historic air core intersection of 4 meters at just over half a gram. And the first RC hole went under that hole and came back with something like 15 meters at 5, within about 36 at 1.3. And what you really see, I guess, is the discovery of a new gold system immediately adjacent and parallel to the main ore body. And what was nice about it was that the 3, 4, 5 gram blocks were much more apparent, and there was a number of higher grade plunging shoots. And of course, in any given pit optimization exercises we'd done, this material out here, if you follow my mouse, was always waste material and was now converting into mineralized. And that again was sort of adding to additional leverage to this deposit. Skip forward another sort of 12 months, and since that last resource upgrade, I guess the point at the bottom there is we've done 50,000 meters of drilling. Bearing in mind that the last resource upgrade, the last 2 were done with 28,000 total. So I think there's potential for a serious step change in the deposit. We've pushed the width of that corridor out now to about 600 meters in the north, about 450 meters in the middle, and about 500 meters in the south there. You can see on that drill pattern. Some staggering intersections there, both in terms in grade and width. We've had a really successful year, and I suppose the one thing that diagram speaks to me is a consistency in delivering more intersections across the entire strike length of the deposit, and again pushing that width and those boundaries out on those resource boundaries. You can see the original one when we listed, and then the next one in 2019, and now we're really sort of stepping out and widening that system. And that of course equates to more ounces per cubic meter in any given sort of optimization exercise we might run. Importantly, the blue holes on there show all the assays pending at this point. We've had 3 rigs turning aggressively for the last 2-3 months, and that pressure's still on. What does this thing look like in cross section? I think irrespective of the intersections there on the side, which are pretty robust, particularly given the previous sort of historic 1 gram grade profile of this deposit. What you see there is a basic geology cross section. The dark blue outlines you can see here are where the previous resource was essentially limited to, previous quoted resource. And I suppose what this really represents is the drilling we've done since that, outside that system. So again, pushing those boundaries out, pushing the boundaries down, and I think a significant change in that mineralized system is apparent, and we're looking forward to calculating that resource and really seeing where we can take this deposit. Slightly different view, and it perhaps explains a bit of basic geology for you. I suppose what you see there is all the gold grades and intersections on a long cross section, and you can see that the bigger the disc and the darker the colour, essentially the better the grade. So you do see the opportunity for a number of plunging shoots within that system. I'd like to make the point that every rock type that this structure or these set of structures intersect, we end up with mineralized system. So we see the ore body sort of transcend a lot of different rocks, and it really speaks for the size of the mineralized system, which is one big alteration envelope and opportunity. Within that, we do see these higher grade plunging shoots, which we've developed, and we're I suppose exploring within the gold system, and they have the opportunity, I suppose, in their own right, within any eventual mining scenarios that we might be able to obtain, are quite interesting. But they also leverage up the total grade or ounce profile within the big picture. There's the resource outline again in blue that we quoted, so you can see quite a sort of a step out in the different views. That's the limit of previous high density drilling. And really in concept, what we've been doing, I suppose, is targeting these higher grade shoots at depth in the first instance. There's multiple assays pending, as we noted at the moment, and particularly targeting those down plunge systems in areas where we see the greatest sort of economic sensitivity. And like I said, that drill pressure will not relent. We've got kind of 50, when we started in this latest phase of 3 months ago, we had an initial 50,000 meters. We're probably about 30,000 meters through that at this point. Another great lever for a big tonnage, low grade deposit, of course, is the advantage of having simple metallurgy. And we're blessed at Apollo Hill in that we have a very, I suppose, simple gravity gold. More than 50% of the gold at Apollo Hill can be recovered by gravity, so cheap physical processing. Importantly, done at a very coarse grind size there. So even at the coarsest commercial grind size of 300 micron, we're still seeing 92% recovery. This was done on 2 big 100-meter composites at a 0.8 head grade, so we're not gilding the lily in terms of the deposit's grade. And importantly, I think at 200 micron, we were up in the 95s, 96. The mineralogy, I'm going to start that particular video spinning. You can see the gold occurs as these coarse nuggets, always within the white quartz veins. So and I suppose that coarseness allows for easier liberation. They're not that coarse that it's causing any issues with leach times. There's no preg-robbing materials, no copper, no arsenic, no carbon. And it's about as simple as it gets. And even on heap leach scenarios, given we're looking at a big tonnage operation here, at coarse crushers, we're seeing very nice recoveries and recovery times. And I suppose the final lever is the fact that even at the lower grades there, you see that graph down the bottom at a 0.38 gram a ton grade, which is very close to the sort of economic cutoff of this thing. We're still seeing excellent recoveries. We rarely find one deposit on its own. So 3.5 kilometers northeast of Apollo Hill, we've got the Calypso prospect, and this year we've seen some excellent intersections following up on some old air core intersections of around the sort of 10 at 10 grams. And recently we've done passive seismic surveys out there. You see the new geophysical interpretation on that particular package around Apollo Hill. And we've also been out and done heritage surveys to really set ourselves up for, if you want, a more camp scale exploration opportunity in 2021. Beyond that, of course, we've got the big regional package, and there's Apollo Hill in the middle. What we're really trying to illustrate here is that package is very under-drilled. You see down here in the southeast, large spaced drill lines, kilometers apart, with 300 or 400 meter space holes. We're looking for big new gold systems, and perhaps some of the best opportunities are immediately along strike of Apollo Hill, where we're under lake cover. The big differentiator, I suppose, for Saturn Metals is the fact that we've got all our ounces are developing in one big, single, simple spot, with a potential for a low unit mining cost and a very simple operation. That resource upgrade planned for later this year with a lot of drilling. And last but not least, we do have a joint venture in New South Wales.
Drop it up.
Where we've joint ventured into an asset with just under 500,000 ounces of gold at, interestingly, an ounce a ton, produced up to about 1915 and hasn't been explored since. And thank you very much.